The world is an enormous place, with over 7 billion people all living and working together to support themselves and their families. These people live everywhere, from highly populated megacities to tiny rural settlements, as well as every conceivable place in between. To understand the varied people on this planet, we need to understand why we live where we do. Today we're going to be talking about living in large cities. Large cities are the most popular places for human beings to live. In Australia, about 60% of the population lives in one of the major capital cities. That's more than 15 million people who live in cities around Australia. Normally, these people will live in suburbs, areas outside of the centre of a city, where people have access to things like healthcare, education and entertainment, as well as easily accessible shops for things like food and clothes. The more people move into a suburb, the more popular it will become for new and upcoming services, things like sports club or larger shopping centres, cinemas, things like that, which will give that area more appeal to live in. As suburbs move further away from the centre of the city, they begin to appear in areas that used to be farmland, and they push a thing called the rural-urban fringe further away. The rural-urban fringe is an area between a city and the countryside, and the further the suburbs push out, the further away that fringe gets from the centre of the city. Industries in particular are very attracted to these areas because the land is so cheap. Let's take a look at a suburb called Blacktown in New South Wales. Blacktown is one of the fastest growing suburbs in Australia. In 1997, the suburb was right on the outskirts of Western Sydney, with barely any development. Now, 20 years later, the area is one of Australia's largest suburbs, with over 300,000 residents. It's grown significantly because the land there is relatively cheap. It has access to services like schools or libraries, public pools and shopping centres, and it has easy access to the rest of Sydney through road and rail links. This area sounds amazing, but like other growing areas, so many people choosing to live in one place means that sometimes there can be problems when living there. For example, the freeway from Blacktown to Sydney CBD, which is one of the real good reasons for living there, gets so busy in peak hour traffic that traffic slows from 100 kilometers an hour, which is the speed limit, to just 30 kilometers an hour. This is because so many people want to use the road network in order to commute to and from their jobs. Since the area is growing, there's only so much traffic that the roads can handle. The same thing applies to hospitals and schools. When these services were made, they were excellent for their communities, but now they can't meet demand and they need to expand in order to keep up. These are problems that town planners face when they're trying to plan for the future of a suburb, as population in cities is only going to grow larger as time goes on. In summary, cities provide people with access to services and entertainment in order to make their lives better, but sometimes they can be growing too quickly, and they can leave town planners with big headaches as to how to make the city a better place for everyone to live. Thanks for listening and for learning about what life is like in big cities and why it's important to know why people live there. And don't forget to ask questions if you want to know more. Thanks and goodbye.